Welcome to the Don't Know Much podcast, the DKM podcast, ladies and gentlemen, where we don't know much about anything, but what I do know is we miss you guys. We took another week off. Things were just happening last week, and now we're pretty okay this week. Kenny's still feeling under the weather, and we're missing him here. We were chatting a bit before recording this episode, but he's doing fine. He just wasn't in the headspace, but I'm still with my boy here with my boy Daniel. It's just going to be us two, and we're just going to be talking about the things we normally just talk about, just the things we're interested in and the things that happen now every now and then. For the last 2 weeks, we could talk about all sorts of things that have been happening, dude. Cryptocurrency's going crazy. Bitcoin's been plummeting. NFT are losing a lot of its values by like a lot. Square Enix with its issues selling Crystal Dynamics, losing money with the Avengers. So on, a lot of stuff has been happening. But doesn't matter because I'm here with the boy, Daniel. What's up, Daniel?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to have all you guys back here. I hope you enjoyed your Mother's Day. I hope you went and gave your mom a big hug and a kiss.
True.
Appreciate her. Let her know that she gave birth to you. You know, whether or not you're doing great in life or whether or not you came out and you're just like, well, damn, now I'm kind of here, you know? You were spawned into this location, and you leveled up, and now
Unconsensually.
here we are.
You were
Consensually, yeah.
unconsensually because you weren't you can't give consent obviously because you didn't exist. But yeah, that's the funny part. I'm not sure if you're
That and also your character customization is completely randomized, so, you know, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I guess to a certain degree. There was this.
I mean, you don't pick your parents.
I think there was this case either by Indian Americans, some people who came from India, or it actually took place in India, where I think this one dude, he's some sort of comedian, some sort of I forgot his actual like profession, but he tried suing his parents, who are both lawyers or judges, and just they're in the judicial legal system. And he didn't take it seriously. It was a joke that he just wanted to bring this up, and obviously, it was that he was suing his parents for unconsensually him bringing him to this world, and all that stuff. But obviously, it holds no merit in court because you really couldn't. The legal limitations don't go so far that you can allow your that it will allow you to sue your parents before you even existed. There's obvious limits to every little thing in law. So yeah, it's funny, but yeah. Happy Mother's Day to all those who have wonderful moms, and if your mom is not that well, I hope you have a good life with your logical family. I'm not sure if you remember from our high school, Daniel. I'm not gonna say their names. I don't want to like dox where we went to high school. There was these two teachers, and one of them used to be a sub teacher, and he used to say, what was it? You get to choose. There's your biological family that you don't choose, and then your logical family, which you do use. Do you remember any teacher saying that? I'm not sure if you recall.
No, but I do kind of agree with that statement, like, a lot. Like, it's more like your family is who you choose to be your family, not
Right.
exactly blood related. Because I'm sure a lot of people out there have fucked up family situations
Yeah.
and things like that, and they went off to start their own family, whether it was their friends, their roommates, people in close proximity. It really, not to bring down the mood, but it's like, don't tell yourself that just because you have a shitty family is mean that that's your lot in
True.
life. You could always decide what you want to do later on. Don't buy into that crap. It's like, well, that's your mom, dude. That's your dad, dude. You can't do that, dude. Like, nah, dude. Like, fuck that shit. They're shitty people. They're shitty fucking people.
Yeah, that's kind of hard for like a lot of people, especially us being a little bit more on the Hispanic side of things. People tend to like view family in a different light, and I understand why, especially when it comes to like our parents' home countries. It's sometimes that's all you really have, in a place that's not so nice, but at the same time, family can also be like your worst enemies, right?
This also brings up that, like, you brought up earlier about, like, cultural differences and things like that. Like, I don't know if you've seen this. I know this is a really weird segue, but have you seen the movie Turning Red yet?
No, what's it about?
well, Turning Red was that Pixar movie that came out exclusively
Oh,
on
that
Disney
movie.
Plus, which was
Right.
yeah.
What about it?
I don't know if a lot of people still talk about it or remember it. It is not like super groundbreaking. Not groundbreaking. That's not what I meant to say. Like it didn't shake the film industry because it was a Disney Plus exclusive, which
True.
is a very interesting thing because it's like, oh, what if we start releasing our movies like exclusively on on streaming services? Like, you know, with the Batman, for example, just came out and now it's on HBO Max. Clearly, there's like that thing right now where it's asking yourself like, how much is the theater industry going to still be around if streaming becomes like the biggest thing? But anyways, that's a whole other can of worms. Turning Red is if you know about the premise of it. Long story short, it's about a girl named May, I believe, and she's a Chinese descendant, living in Canada with her Chinese family. And you know, to her, she's like the generic, like, oh, you know, I'm working real hard. My mom loves me. I love my friends. I work real hard. Yada yada yada. And you know, her mom, being from an older generation, doesn't quite understand certain things about her. Like, she doesn't want her to go to a band, a concert, because she thinks like, oh, that's so immature. That's so revealing. That's so, you know, indecent, essentially, right? But
Right.
it brings into the fact that like the movie's underlying theme is about like historic trauma and sort of. I know I sound like I'm fucking writing for really out of the field here, but trust me that the movie deals with that. It deals with the fact that like the mom is being hard on the daughter because her mom was hard on her, and like people are telling me like, oh yeah, this is like a really good depiction of like how family trauma kind of like
Yeah,
falls down the
generational
line.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't mean you know, you probably don't mean bad, but it's just that that's what you were raised up believing, is like that's how you did it because that's how my parents taught me. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but I think that's also like that's a bad thing in some viewpoints, but also like if you try to raise your kid avoiding the way your parents raised you, that's a nice sentiment and all of especially if your parents were abusive, but sometimes that might be always the best thing either, because maybe the way you go about it is not the safest or the healthiest way than doing it. I'm not trying to say you're actively trying to abuse your child. I'm just saying that it's one of those things that you really need to learn how to check your ego when being a
I get
parent.
what you mean. It's like you might not appreciate that your parents were hard on you growing up, but looking at it now, it's like, damn, if it wasn't my parents being super hard on me, I probably would not have the life that I have right now, which is hopefully for the best.
Right,
You
and
know?
I'm not saying you should have a hard life in at all times,
No, of
being
course not.
mentally abused and all that. I'm not saying that whatsoever. Of course not. Far from it. All I'm saying is, just because you're trying to avoid the negativity, just try not to breed more negativity by doing that. You know, because
I get what you mean.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why like a lot of people really need to consider like not parenting classes, but just understand that children are very easy to understand when it comes to becoming a parent. I've learned this from taking care of kids in daycares, volunteering with children. Kids are not that hard. And one thing that I've learned too is that a lot of adults forgot what they were like when they were kids. Like it's like they almost forgot everything they learned about. Like even in comics and movies, people can relate to this. If you need to understand more what I'm talking about, where as a teenager, this one dude was like this. He was rebellious. He was a punk, all that stuff. And then when he turns 40, he's a middle-aged man, works at a factory, who has a family, right, nuclear family, all that stuff, right. And then their kids start to turn punk and all that stuff. And then the father, who used to be punk, is pissed that his kid is not punk, forgetting every little thing that they did when he was a young rascal. Only reason I'm bringing this up is because you need to remember, like, hey, how was it when I was a kid? Because believe it or not, a lot of kids sometimes take after their parents. So
That's true.
one,
Yeah, it's like my mom, because she was born in the youngest of her family, she's always had a little bit more of a fire to her, where she was a little bit, you know, a little bit more outgoing and a little bit more rebelling against the system and stuff like that, which is really funny because she complains that my sister's does that a lot, and I always ask me, oh, why did your sister turn out like this? Like, well, because she's a lot like you. You just don't know it yet. You
Right.
raised her to be like that. You might have just subconsciously not realized it until now.
you created the beast. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, no insult.
But
I'm not
anyways,
trying to insult. But yeah, it's
no, I get it. No, it's fine.
so this
But
movie is just about, from what I've heard, a lot of people find this narrative spin on turning red very, very, very relative. Even though if you're not Chinese whatsoever, or you're not Asian, people find this story a lot really, really relatable when it comes to like being a child, being just growing up in, because you moved somewhere new, and it's something that people relate to more than just a princess or someone going on a hero's journey, or so on and so forth. And that's why this.
Well, I just want to add just to not be super not dramatic. Like that's not what the whole movie's about.
No,
the whole
no, of
movie's
course
about
not.
like a girl who turns into a fucking panda.
Of course,
there's that underlying theme
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
film, and I was like, I just want to make sure it's not a depressing fucking movie about trauma. It's just
No.
there's a scene or two about it that like builds off of it. And I was like, oh, that's a really good scene, because there was this weird thing about people who went into this movie, and I'm a grown ass fucking adult boy, and there was people who hated this movie, saying like, oh, boys can't enjoy it, guys won't get it, they talk about periods, they talk about like this and that. But I'm a grown-ass immature adult, and I still enjoyed the movie. I think it's just that maybe you can't explain to your kid this topic to them, and that makes them really confused.
It's just people virtue signaling to some degree.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Hey, you can't do this or you can't do that because you can't relate, which I guess it makes sense. Like, actually,
but that's stupid, because like you can't. Then you. It's like when people say, "Oh, we have to appeal to the broadest demographic." I'm like, well, the broadest demographic probably wasn't even going to give a shit in the first place.
True. I mean, you can talk about it, but like, will you ever truly experience it?
No, I won't experience period cramps.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like Denzel Washington said it very, very well, and that's why like his perspective on this really opened up the eyes of a lot of people. Us being a little bit more ethnic centric when it comes to like where we live, how things go. Like we understand the culture a bit more than for people who are just watching from the outside. I forgot what movie it was, but Denzel Curry was in this movie where he made it abundantly clear that he needed a black director, right? And a reporter was asking him, "Hey, why a black director? Like, couldn't it just be like any other what do you call it? Any other directors?" Like, yeah, sure. It could have been any other director, but like Schindler's List was done by a Jew. Was it Steven Spielberg?
Steven Spielberg, yeah.
Right. All right, cool. And he made a great movie. And then who was the director of Goodfellas?
Let me see. Good.
I think he was an Italian.
Director. I believe it. Martin Scorsese. Yeah.
Martin Scorsese, right? He says Martin Scorsese
Yeah.
made Goodfellas. And then he said, could Martin Scorsese direct Schindler's List? Probably. He's a great director. Could Steven Spielberg direct Goodfellas? Probably. He's a great director. But it's not so much about being a good director. It's about knowing the experience of just being in that culture. And the reason why Denzel Washington said he wanted a black director is not because a black director can do a good or better job. It's because he knew about the black experience, about how your hair smells on a hot Sunday morning, like stuff like that, like very, very specific. So when people get into the like
very relatable, essentially,
right?
It's easier to write about a movie that you could easily relate with and put your own personal spin on it
because you've been there.
Exactly.
Right. So like I can make a video game. I can make something about like my experiences with like I don't know, being a second generation immigrant family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that being
because you can relate to that. It's easier for you to be like, oh, I know exactly how to, because making a movie or making any form of art, especially with a team of people, is very difficult because you have to somehow explain the vision, explain to the actors, explain it to the editors, to the cameraman and everything, and then you have to somehow manage to take that vision and put it on the screen and to make sure that it is exactly how you imagine it or how you compromise to fit that image.
Right. And that's the thing with your example with regards to like, oh, people can't relate. It's like I get it, but like there's a certain point where your input isn't like that needed because you're trying to put yourself in someone's shoes who's definitely experienced it. I'm not saying that not anyone can have a voice. All I'm saying is like it's kind of cringy when someone virtue signal says, "Oh, you can't do this because you don't understand this or you don't understand that." It's like, sure, I've never been through insert this thing here, but I can empathize and I can understand how much it could suck for you. But like, yeah, it's kind of cringy. But people just trying to virtue signal and trying to put themselves on a pedestal, and which is normal, I guess, right? Like,
right. people always want to be like, how did they stand out, or like how did they like, oh, you can't get into something.
A good example, right? And I'm proud that I did this, and I still do to this day. If you've never beaten Dark Souls 1, I'm an elitist. I'll make fun of you because you haven't beaten Dark Souls 1, and I think I'm better than you. Of course I will. And you're gonna tell me you've had the Dark Souls experience because you watch people play the game? Nah, it ain't gonna work with me, buddy. I'm an elitist. I need to know. That's it. That's really it. I'm just being an elitist. I'm proud of it.
I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, like, if you don't really care about the game itself, but you like watching it, I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, like, yeah, I won't count it. Like, I watched all of Outlast 2. Did I played it? No, I watched it. I enjoyed what I watched, but
actually, it's not a bad game. I don't know why people hate on it so much now. Like,
what, Outlast?
If you were to Outlast 2, if you were to like separate Outlast 2 from the cringe that it was.
No, I'm just talking about in general.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
related. I just do that. Like, I don't know if you ever did that. I used to do that all the time, where like sometimes I just watch an entire playthrough of a game completely in just watching it and not really caring it. I think that's how I got into like Manhunt 2. I just watched one guy played it all one morning, and I was like, oh, that's neat. And then I eventually went and played it myself.
The only game I ever watched people like play that's story wise, prior to me actually playing it, was Sekiro, but not like throughout the whole way. It's just like I didn't really play a lot of Soulsborne stuff, except from Bloodborne when Sekiro first came out, and then I watched a little bit of it, and then I got it and I started playing it.
That's fine. Yeah, I just want to add, because like there's certain games where it's just sometimes I just don't really care about playing it itself. Not saying Outlast is that, but there's some games that are like that, and I just be like, oh, I'll just watch a playthrough of it,
Right?
because I enjoy watching the playthrough. But yeah, anyways, moving on from that.
Turning Red, yeah.
Yeah. So what else has there been going on?
Speaking about turning red, and I mentioned this in the beginning. Well, a lot of people's bank accounts have been turning red a little bit, or at least their investment wallets have been turning red because of the whole cryptocurrency dropping when it comes to like what do you call this thing? Bitcoin dropping, NFTs finally a thing of the past. Even though, ironically enough, I think Sega, or a lot of video game, a good amount, I should say, a good amount gaming development studios have been trying to get into NFTs because, well,
the only two I know of, so sorry to cut you off,
Sega.
is Ubisoft did it at one point
Yeah.
with one of the games that was already dead at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
you're already burying the corpse. You might as well take a shit on it, I guess, and be like, oh.
Yeah. Especially after, well, the game that you're talking about, the creator's also dead. So, yeah.
Well, not the creator, but more like the guy who influenced
right,
these
like
games.
with the books and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Rest in peace, Tom Clancy, which is always, that's a fun little thing. Well, good to later. But anyways, yeah, like I thought it was really weird. Like Ubisoft probably sitting around the corner like, all right, guys, well, let's experiment with this, like, you know, NFT shit. You know, my son bought a funny monkey picture, and this guy's going to be a fucking millionaire.
Basically, yeah.
Let's figure out like how we can, you know, put this what is it called, Jim? NFTs. NFT, sir. Like, okay, how do we do that? Well, sir, we can't put that in one of our successful games because that will kill up the fan base and we'll lose a lot of money. So, what game can we do? What do we got in the graveyard back there? Breakpoint. Yeah, dig that shit up. Yeah, put an NFT in it.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that corpse up.
Yep.
Just fuck it.
God, it's so bad.
And I'm just like, you know, the first I was like, oh my god, Ubisoft is adding NFTs. Like, oh, it's in Breakpoint. Okay, so nothing happens. Nothing will happen. And then later it was like, oh, thank you so much for the experiment, which basically means we were caught in a bad time, but be sure that we're gonna do this again as soon as you guys don't even fucking realize it. And God, it was so fucking stupid. I hated the approach of it. Was like, hey guys, we really want to give players like the feeling that they own something in a fucking looter shooter.
Yeah.
Where the same fucking glove you buy is the same glove that you could get later in the game. It looks no fucking different, but you only put it on because it has the higher numbers. That's it. What do you mean the sense of ownership? What the fuck was that all about? But yeah, so Ubisoft experimented with it in a dead game that no one gave a shit about, and that died. And the only other time I ever hear that anybody mentions NFTs was Square Enix, which that brings into later.
Yeah.
The CEO of Square Enix, just like, you know, everybody's having a good time. Yo, Endwalker's doing great. Games are coming out. We're all having a good time. And then the CEO will just pop in out of nowhere and be like, what if we did NFTs? And I was just like, yeah, can we not like ruin the fucking party, dude? Like we're having a good fucking time. Like just shut the fuck up and listen to the near music while I'm grinding on 2B's ass. Like no, he just pops in every once in a while, and it's just like this sense of dread, or it's just like, oh, what if he actually does do fucking Bitcoin, and then he wants to get into goddamn metaverse and all the shit that people don't want to deal with, and he just kept doing it, and then like Yoshi P has to come in and be like, no, we're not adding NFTs, but then this guy will come in and be like, well, what if maybe we did?
Now, I will say the only defense I have for NFTs is hey, imagine you own this NFT thing here in this game, right? And you know how every new, I don't know, let's say the horrible example that is FIFA, which EA is no longer doing FIFA anymore because FIFA, the official FIFA, the soccer league, whatever, has increased their gaming license things to like $1 billion, and now EA is no longer gonna do FIFA. So hooray for that!
Who the fuck is gonna buy it?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Like what? If EA's not gonna buy it, who the fuck will?
Exactly. There's some issues happening right now with the Soccer Federation as a whole, but I won't get into that. I don't know the exact details, but I do know that it is something that is going down. But with regards to that, FIFA, right? Let's just say you get FIFA 2021, right? You invested a lot of money into the game because you have mental issues, right? I'm not making fun of people who have mental issues, but a game like this really affects people who do have mental issues, where you want to keep putting more money until they get who they wanted to get, the roster they wanted to get, right? So next game comes out, FIFA 22.
Sounds like every gacha game.
Or every gacha game, right? So FIFA 22 comes out, and you're starting straight from zero, and no one ever plays FIFA 21 anymore because the online service goes down. Like the day of FIFA 22 comes out, right? So that's no longer fun. So the NFT thing is like, hey, you get to keep all your things into the next game or into like other games. That's the only positive thing I saw with the whole NFT thing. Is like, hey, this skin that you bought here for this game, well, in our other titles, once we implement NFTs there, you can have that same skin there. I'm like, I think that's not that bad of an idea if it was implemented properly. That's the only sort of positive thing I can see existing. The only one good example is like for Warzone, right? Like, let's say you have a skin for, I don't know, for Cold War, and you also have a skin in Modern Warfare 2019. You get to use those same skins in Warzone because the Warzone ties those three games together. But yeah, I'm glad the NFT market is crashing.
But I have to buy a receipt that I own the skin in order to fucking do that.
Basically. But
how the fuck is that gonna work?
Basically, but I'm glad the NFT thing is going crazy. I mean, Square Enix really screwed the pooch. They were really going hard on it too. I don't know what's happening with Square Enix. I'm glad Yoshi P exists to have like some sort of rational mindset in Square Enix's company.
Here's my takeaway on like Japanese game studios and stuff like that. You have the developers and you have like the smaller directors and stuff like that are legitimately like, hey, I'm really passionate, I like this game, I really want to like make this thing really good. And then later you have like the CEO farts are just like, but how do we make more money out of it? And then later, that's the problem, and that's the issue, and which is really funny because you look at a game like Elden Ring that is just smashing sales records time and time and time again, not bullshitting anybody, not making an easy mode, not making this game like super accessible. They just made the game how good it is, and then people just buy the game off of word of mouth, and because it is such a good game, people are just kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna buy the fucking game.
Right. That's true. And well, the one thing that a lot of people tend to not like about the whole Elden Ring thing, which I'm glad Elden Ring really changed the whole landscape of Soulsborne thing, because a lot of casual players have been playing it, because it's not like a typical Dark Souls game, but you can play like a typical Dark Souls games where you can just avoid all the repetitive areas, all the repetitive areas that repeat themselves, the same bosses that repeat themselves and stuff. But people have been enjoying this game because, one, because of the memes, two, because of how much of a cultural impact this game has caused. But like, a lot of people really don't like the whole idea of playing a single player game more than once, unless like, hey, maybe I'm getting the urge to play it again. But Elden Ring gives you the replayability of just like, hey, remember that one thing that you didn't explore? Well, you just defeated the final boss. You can visit the spot again, and here you go. Or some people have actually done New Game Plus, which is something that a lot of people have been interested in doing, because now the game isn't so hard at the beginning because you have all your gear from your previous world. So yeah, it's been taking the game, the whole casual scene from what's the word, by storm, because people have been enjoying, in a casual sense, have been enjoying Elden Ring. So I'm glad it still exists.
Yeah.
I know I've said this before, but you got to give respect where it's due, dude. Because honestly, like these Japanese folks know how to make games when it comes to Final Fantasy 14, Elden Ring. I mean, come on, man. Like, give credit where credit's due. Because honestly, at least we have some development teams or just directors know what they're doing.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, that kind of leads into recently with well, we mentioned earlier that like Square Enix sold off what was
Crystal
that?
Dynamics.
Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah.
Yep, Crystal Dynamics. Yeah, you know what? If you make a bog standard, really boring as fuck kind of Marvel game, you know, the Marvel name alone could only take you so far. I know that like people have this high expectation of Marvel because of the success of the Marvel movies and
Right.
stuff like that, but man, I think people need to remember is that there was a time where like, you know, licensed games like this were looked and kind of shocked. It was until like
Right.
games like Batman Arkham Asylum came out that kind of made people be like, yo,
Yeah, it popped off.
what if like superhero games could actually be really fucking good, you know?
Yeah, what if, right? And it actually did. Which, I guess the combat was... the combat was whatever, but everything else about Arkham, the Arkham series, just traversing the city was just so dang fluid. So
I love the Arkham
wet.
games, every single one except Blackgate. That could pretend that doesn't exist. You know, even the worst Arkham game, whether it's Origins or some people think Arkham Knight was the worst. I think people just had super high expectations for Arkham Knight that's why they look at it as the worst. And maybe because we have to look at it like this in a bubble where it's like Arkham Asylum came out, it showed that superhero games could be really good and set the standard for them, whether or not you like it or not. And then let Arkham City build on top of it and made it better.
Right.
And then that's when, you know, Rocksteady said, all right, we're going to hold off on making the third game because we want to make this one the best out of the best. Then Arkham Origins came out by Warner Brothers Montreal to kind of hold people over. And then Arkham Knight came out and, you know, people weren't exactly digging the Batmobile and certain things about it. But I personally loved Arkham Knight, excluding the awful PC port launch.
Ugh.
Aside that.
Yeah.
Which that adds into another point, though. I recently finally ordered a new computer, essentially. I finally snagged myself a 3080. You know, I think we talked about this about 2 or 3 episodes ago, where I was saying like if I could find a 3080 for around $800, I'll pull the trigger. And yeah, one day I was driving home from work. Google told me like, hey, this graphics card on Amazon selling for $800. You should probably get it. I'm like, all right, bet. And I ordered it. And might as well keeping the flame going. I realized that, damn, I need to build a new fucking computer because I have been playing a lot of Fortnite, Marcos, and unironically too. You know, I know in the podcast we talked about like how we like Fortnite and we like the developers and we like the fact that, you know, the support has been great. But, you know, I never really cared about playing it because I just never give a shit about building. I just think that was like the one thing I can never give a shit about nor care about.
Right.
But recently, Fortnite introduced no build mode, which, you know, I thought was like, oh, okay, that's kind of a neat little temporary thing. Like, that's a nice little layer of challenge. But no, now because no build became such a massive success, a lot of no build is now permanent. Now you can play Fortnite with no build in any mode. And that's pretty crazy. I think a lot of people are now finally getting into Fortnite because, you know, it's no longer like, to quote Kenny, where like every time you shoot someone, they build a fucking 12-story apartment complex.
Which is a valid argument, dude. Like, it was so cringy sometimes.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it's cringy if you can't do it, but if the other person can do it, you just kind of have to deal with it. But that's the reason why I couldn't get into it because I never liked the fact that like, okay, I have to build this wall, but I have to make sure I shoot my shotgun blast in frame 0 before the build is technically in the game, and I just couldn't give a shit about it. I was like, man, these build battles are just not for me. I can't get into it. And you got like kids who've been playing this game for season after season after season where they could build that fast.
Learning the
like,
tech, yeah.
I can't keep up. I just can't keep up. It feels like you're playing, you know, Fortnite Season 1 again, where it was like no one knew how the fuck to build. At best, people threw, like, build ramps to get up of buildings, but this was before, like, everybody was building on top of each other and stuff like that. It's a more simplistic thing. It's not my favorite BR. It probably won't be, but I've been enjoying the game, unironically, and I have unadmittedly bought the Fortnite Battle Pass and got the V-Bucks, because honestly, though, I just dig the item shop, dude. I think Fortnite knows how to monetize their game really well.
Oh, yeah.
And
Definitely.
I don't know. To me, whenever a new skin comes out for the game, I just be like, oh, that's cool. I would buy it, but I wouldn't play the game, so I wouldn't buy it. But now that I am playing it, I'm like, yeah, I'll drop $20 on V-Bucks. Fuck it. I'll just buy some stupid shit.
Yeah, I'm an adult. I can do what I want.
Yeah, financial responsibilities. Pfft, fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
I got some kids I got a Fortnite dance on.
That's what I'm saying is that to all my friends this, I tell even my partners this. If I ever have a kid and that kid gets into video games, oh, I'm on a rock their house, their whole world. Kids having fun, playing, I don't know, some random game that we got for that kid on Christmas or whatever. It's like, hey, what are you playing? Oh, I'm playing Fortnite. Oh, yeah? I want to play some too. And then I just like carry him across the entire game. They're like, oh, wow, my dad's a loser. He plays Fortnite professionally. So, yeah.
No, I'm gonna stream snipe my kid when he becomes a streamer.
And say,
And
I did your mom.
I did your mom every chance I could get. Just remind him every time. You came out of my balls, bitch. Damn, you came out of my dick and you got that skill. I hope my skill would have rubbed off when I rubbed off on your mom.
All those online roast sessions you would have just like on the Call of Duty lobby would transfer over.
Now, son, I'm about to show you all the racial slurs you could do. This is my Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 lobbies back on Xbox 360. I saved the footage just for you to know.
And you put it behind the whole like 20 different like doors, secure vault doors, and then it has some sort of a what was that thing?
There's like a security personnel and everything in there.
Right.
Like, good morning, Mr. Good afternoon, Mr. Pepper. Yeah. All right. So we're going to the vault today. Yep.
What was that
right,
one
son. thing
that the Germans did? The insignia, that it was called, where it's like it was used to like decode and then decrypt messages, that the Germans had. Anyways, and once all that's done, it's like if this gets out on the public, I'll be considered a terrorist, and then boom.
Exactly. Yeah, we're fucked. This what plays in this tape cannot be left within these solid steel walls.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, that's so good. I will say though that when it comes to just like video games as a whole, if you own a game because you've bought it because it was on sale, or you bought it because you bought it day one because you really wanted to play this game, and you bought it physically, right? Let's just say we're just talking about physical games, right? You bought when you had a 360, you bought this one game on disc. Let's just say it's a Call of Duty game. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All's good in the world. All is right. Well, there is a DRM issue with Xbox the other day and a couple of days ago, which essentially, like you mentioned this before, it basically made the Xbox One issue live again, but for like
you can't escape from it. You can't escape from Don Matrix. I told you he'll always have the last laugh.
Mm-hmm. So, well, what's the point of owning your own damn game that you've paid money for 10 years ago? That that you bought 10 years ago, and well, it doesn't work. Even on your own damn Xbox 360, you couldn't play the damn game because there was no online connection. So yeah, it was it had a DRM issue. The services went down for quite some time actually, and it was like Xbox kept saying, or Microsoft kept saying, hey, yeah, we fixed the issue, only for the issue literally not to be fixed whatsoever. And in some cases it kind of even got worse. But yeah, everyone kept saying, what do you mean you fix it? It's just it's annoying.
It kind of reminds me when the PlayStation Network got hacked and the servers went down.
Yeah.
Imagine like you're following the system. And you're like, oh, I hope the servers come back. And then the guy says, yeah, about that. We couldn't fix the servers. Also, your shit got docked. So
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Oh, that was so bad. All I know is that I'm glad Steam is, well, the way that the platform that it is now. But like, I just hope that one day Steam just like, I don't know, all good things must come to an end, right? Steam no longer is profitable. I don't know, something happens where the company just is no longer active. And
dude, are you kidding me? The CS:GO lottery skins are already funding the fucking company. We're
True.
set, dude.
No, I'm saying just hypothetically, right?
I know nothing lasts forever. I mean, Blockbuster shut down, and those guys could have bought Netflix. Can you imagine the world we would have lived in if Blockbuster was still around and Netflix got bought?
Speaking about all that, Netflix, a lot of people are leaving Netflix because of the whole price increase and the whole penalization of like, hey, you shared your account with someone that's not in your house, we're gonna charge you now because you did a big old whoopsie.
You know, I would care about that, but my thing is that my phone company already pays for my Netflix, so it's just like, oh, Netflix price increasing, cool, nothing changes to me.
Right, I get that. I'm just saying like people who actually do pay for it because like that's what they want to do. All I'm saying is like, hey, I want you to watch the show because I think you'll like it. Here's my account. Have a good day. And then Netflix like, you know what? We don't consent to this. Let's take it back, please. and I think it's kind of
Make sure
cringy.
you buy your Blu-rays, boys. They can't take away your discs.
Do people even still buy?
You're talking to one, jackass.
Yeah, but you're a weirdo, and you admit to this
Yeah.
before. I was gonna say,
Yeah,
do
I
people
am.
buy digital Blu-ray stuff?
They mean like digital movies?
Digital Blu-ray, because like honestly, I'd rather watch
Because
it.
I did for a short time. For a short time, I did. I wanted to go all digital, but I was like, well, I want to buy my movies. I don't want to like put them all on the hard drive. And then I realized like, wait, this is fucking stupid. I could just buy the Blu-ray that comes with the code.
Speaking of that, like, do you even need a? You don't need a Blu-ray player to play a digital Blu-ray thing. So
No,
like, what's
of course.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd rather if I have a Blu-ray player, I'd rather buy it physically and take good care of it.
But your console is a Blu-ray player.
Right, the PlayStation 5. Right. That's what I'm saying. If I were to buy anything like Super HD or anything, I'd rather just buy it in physical because, well, I have a physical machine that does that. I don't want a digital.
That and also your bitrate compression is not a thing anymore because like that's the thing you kind of learn about it. It was like the stream bits, the bit rate that these net streaming services are streaming are like double digits at best, but like really good high quality Blu-rays are like triple digits, and then that makes a world of a difference in visual quality. To a normie casual viewer like myself, it doesn't make a world of a difference, but it's still there.
Okay.
I just look at it. It's like, you know what? Let me just buy. If I like something I really like a lot, I buy it physically in some way, shape, or form. So I always have it to myself physically whenever I want.
Right. Makes sense.
That's how I am. Like, a good example, when Evangelion, the original series, got released on Blu-ray by G Kids after years of waiting, because I remember they announced they owned the rights back in 2021 or 2020, and they said, it was probably 2021, they said it's coming out, but they never gave a date to it. And then as soon as they dropped the pre-orders, I put my order in, $36. I now own a Blu-ray copy of Neon Genesis Evangelion, which beforehand the only way you could have gotten physically on DVD was if you bought the old ADV limited edition collections, which I used to have. Ironically, I bought it for like brand new for $20, and I sold it for $150 on eBay. But some people might complain that the Blu-ray releases doesn't have Fly Me to the Moon. I'm probably in the minority who's going to say I don't really care about that, because it's like, dude, you can find videos of Fly Me to the Moon easily by Ray at any time, any week. I'm not going to worry about it. But I bought it because I'm like, I want to own this show on Blu-ray legitimately. And then I did it. No regrets about it. I can still watch it on Netflix because Netflix still has Evangelion, but I don't know when that's going to end. My only concern is, though, is like when they're going to release the remaining the movies, the rebuilds on Blu-ray, because that's still on Prime Video, but I don't know how long that's going to last on Prime Video. And we still haven't gotten the last movie or Blu-ray release yet.
Honestly, at this point, I think the only valid streaming platform that people don't mind paying for is Prime Video, because it's connected to your Prime account, your Amazon Prime account. So like, people prefer to pay for the Prime account, and it comes with the extra goodie, extra.
Yeah, I forget I even have Prime Video sometimes. I think in my lifetime I've only seen like one show from beginning to end, and that was Invincible, which was really good.
It was really good.
And
Watch The Boys.
I haven't watched The Boys yet. I've wanted to watch The Boys. Man, Amazon has a hard on for like superhero shows. Like, what if the superheroes were dicks?
Well, I mean, these were all based off comics, though.
Yeah, I know, but that's just funny to me. It's just like, hey, we're not interested in superheroes, but the superhero's a dickhead. Oh yeah, well then we'll buy the rights.
I will say though, The Boys does cover something that I've always wondered about, like with comics and more like anything superhero related. Is like, hey, Superman, whenever he fights a big supervillain, he causes a lot of collateral property damage, right? It's part of the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That being said, Daniel, you went to let's just say you're just getting out of work, you can't wait to go back home, and then this superhero uses your car and just launches it at the supervillain, immobilizing them.
Yep.
Who's paying for your freaking car? Your insurance won't cover it, because guess what? You didn't get the superhero package. Or guess what? It's way too early to get the superhero package because the insurance companies still haven't adapted to superheroes. So now you're out of a car.
Yep.
Now what the heck do you do? Maybe complain, cry about it. You really can't do much
Or sue.
Yeah, good luck with that. But like the whole thing with The Boys is like, hey, what if like that? But like the heroes were like it turned things a bit realistic on the realism dial. It's like, hey, these superheroes have
Well, I could give an answer to that question. Have you seen The Incredibles?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course,
That was the whole thing
of
about
course, of
that. Like,
course.
you know what? Mr. Incredible saves a guy jumping off a building. Guy sues him for saying, like, I always like that line where he's just like, so hey, I saved your life. No, you ruined my death.
Yeah, you ruined. Yeah, which was a nice spin on it. I really liked how the Incredibles did it, and how mature the Incredibles really took this concept of like superheroes and how realistic it made it. But like that's why like it isn't the whole what if Superman was actually evil. It's like sure that's the case, but like it goes deeper than that. The reason
I
why
mean, like, there's also like Batman, who, like, remember he got kicked out of the Justice League because they found out that he had like a contingency plan how to beat everyone, and everyone got like super defensive and
butthurt,
like
yeah.
any. And I'm just like, dude, that makes total fucking sense. You guys are super fucking gods to humans. Like, how the fuck are we gonna fight you if you guys turn evil?
That's
You guys
why
you get mind controlled every other comic issue. How the fuck are we gonna fight you?
that's why they couldn't see it, but like they were more upset that these plans existed, and the only reason they got upset about it isn't because of the whole it existed. It's because
We're your friends, Batman.
no, it's because it existed and it was used against them. They were actually being controlled. They were what was the comic issue that where the plans came out?
Justice League Doom is
That
what
one.
is the movie I'm quoting. Yeah.
Right. So like they were more mad about it actually working against them because they didn't know it existed, and then these villains managed to actually, cripple the Justice League to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's the whole back to this whole ego thing and whatever. It's like they can't see why you need it. They can't see all this, and that. It's like, well, duh. Like you just mentioned, you guys are gods. You need to have a contingency plan.
This nicely segues into recently. I've been getting back into the Batman because the new Batman movie came out. I still haven't watched it
Same.
yet, but for some reason, it really got me back into reading Batman comics and mainly watching some of DC's animated adaptations of certain comic books, which I always give credit to DC. I think DC, generally speaking, while their live action output has been very shaky at best, I've always felt like their animated like adaptations of Batman comics are really good. I think they really do a good job of doing a literal translation. And like a good example is I was rewatching the Dark Knight Returns, which has always been my favorite Batman comic story of all time. I like the premise of it. I like the idea of it. Do you know what the Dark Knight Returns is, Marcos, by any chance?
I know a bit about it.
Okay, just to fill everybody in, basically this is a very old Bruce Wayne who retired being the Batman for decades up to this point, to the point where people don't even remember there was a Batman. Like younger people thought that Batman was like a myth, a legend, a Gotham legend. You know what I'm
Tall tale,
saying?
yeah.
Yeah. And I was rewatching the movie again, and I've always told people that like The Dark Knight Returns is very much a psyche comic. Like the thing is about when you read a Batman comic, Batman isn't talking a lot. And when you're looking at him through a camera, like if you're looking at him through a video game or a movie, he's not thinking out loud to himself. But in the comic book issues, that's what he's doing. He's narrating or monologuing to himself about, oh, this kid just got shot. Damn, he probably would have been this, and that. Or, oh my God, that poor cat died from falling off of a building. That's what he's constantly thinking in his head in those panels, right? And The Dark Knight Returns basically puts it up that, like, yes, Gotham is in a shithole right now. It's a shithole of a city because the mutant gangs are killing people left, right, and center for no purpose or no reason. And Batman is just as crazy, if not as crazy as everyone else. Because when you really read the lines, he looks at being the Batman not as a sense of justice, but also because as a sense of a being. That he has to do it. Like it's like an addiction that he has to go back into doing it because he knows he can't escape from it. And to me, that's sort of what an interesting take of it was, that like, yeah, he's doing a good thing, but he's also like taking the law to his own hands and doing whatever the fuck he wants, And I've always recommended to people of like, if you want to get into The Dark Knight Returns, I would normally recommend the comic, but the comic book art style is very abstract. So if you just want like a literal translation, I recommend you watch like the DC movies about it. And I was also watching a little bit of Operation Flashpoint, which is like a really interesting take of like, what if like Bruce died that night and it was Thomas who became the Batman, which is really cool.
And his mother became the Joker.
The Joker. Yep. Yeah, it's a really cool thing, and I've just been getting back into it. I was even reading an old Batman black or white comic book, like hard book, where it's like it's all these short stories of Batman. It's all related to Batman, but it's all by like different artists. Like you get from Frank Miller all the way down to Bruce Timm from the animated series, which in my opinion he did like one of the best stories in the book, where it's like Harvey Dent gets cured by a miracle plastic surgeon and neurologist, and then later they get hooked up. Then later he finds out that she has a twin sister who's fucking evil, and like Harvey is like going through this affair between like the good sister and the bad sister, and like the bad sister tells him like, no, I love you for who you are, I know that they faked you, yada yada yada. But it was like this really touching, and for a love story it is really good, and a short one too. Really 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 good story, really good. I recommend you guys, if you haven't yet, give Batman Black or White a shot. Very good book. If not, just read some of the stories that they've made out of him.
I will say though, when it comes to the whole universe things with Marvel and DC, I prefer how Marvel does it. It's like, hey, here's universe number 616. It's the main universe, right? Then there's universe 2056. What is it? I don't know. Just a random universe. Whereas with DC, it's kind of like on the nose. Where like, hey, the main universe is universe 1. Then there's this universe 2. Then universe 3. And I'm like, I guess if you're going to go in order. I prefer the randomness because it feels like it's bigger than what it actually is, you know?
Once you introduce the concept of multi-universes, you should just embrace it and just be like, fuck it. Universe where Peter gets bitten by a radioactive lizard. Fuck it. He becomes the lizard.
I will say, though, and I think I mentioned this before in a previous episode, maybe not, but I'm pretty sure I have, where the comic book series as a whole isn't doing as popular in the States, mainly because of how confusing the narrative is in the grand scheme of things, right? Like, hey, we know the basic thing about Batman, right? He's a billionaire who inherited the estate of his parents after they got shot in that alleyway, right? Yeah, we get that. That's a cardinal rule of a typical Batman thing that you don't really need to be doesn't really need to be explained all that much. That he watches over Gotham City, yada yada yada, right? And that's the main rubric at times, and that's something that you don't really mess with unless you want to be creative, a creative spin on Batman where certain things get changed around here and there. Which sure, there's some good comics that do that as well, good issues that do that, but that's not what I'm trying to get at. What I'm trying to get at is the whole thing of like manga being a lot more popular than comics in the States. A Japanese comic being a lot more popular than American comics. Mainly being like, hey, here's the story of Goku from beginning to end. There's no other spin-off or anything, and that's canon, right? This is the canon story of Son Goku, right? Of Kakarot, right? From Planet Vegeta and all that stuff. There is no other spin-off. You could see these spin-offs, but they're not canon, and they're purely just fan material at this point. But like they're not.
I think that also helps because that's also classified as Dojin. I think that's what's pronounced.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. It's sort of like where going back. I hate to go back to Evangelion, but like a good example is like, spoiler alert, Mari was shown in like the end of the Neon Genesis Evangelion manga, because by that time the manga was done, the rebuilds are coming out, and Mari was already introduced in the movies. So they added the author made this whole little cute segment about Mari being from the past and knowing Yui and Gendo when they were meeting each other, and like it was like completely fan fiction. He told us like, look, this is not meant to be canon. I wrote this as a cute idea, nothing more, nothing less. But then Arnold looked at it and was like, well, what if it actually was? And then he did make it canon.
Right. And Evangelion will always be one of those series where it's just it's got fine taste for certain people. It's not for everyone, really. It's good. It's got its own flavor, its own flair, but it's not for everyone. But like that's the one thing I wanted to like bring up again when it comes to like manga and anime. It's like, hey, here's a story of I don't know, insert random shonen protagonist here, and that's it, beginning to end.
Yeah, you won't exactly get the Evangelion full story if you only read the Shinji Ikari Raising Project series and just be like, yeah, I mean, I definitely know what's going on.
Oh my lord. Either way, like either way, when it comes to just comics, like they're still pretty cool, but people prefer the movies because hey, you don't got to worry about all these extra issues of like, hey, should you read this issue number or that issue number? No, just worry about the movies. The movies had
Yeah,
its
it's
own
kind
thing.
of funny too because like I was reading like I was bored one night and I was reading Maximum Carnage, right, which is like this like 7 book series. And that's another thing about comics that why I couldn't get into them even as a kid because it's like fuck, if I want to read the Maximum Carnage story, I had to be subscribed to Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, Peter Parker,
Right.
back to Spider-Man, and it's just like, dude, I can't. What the fuck? How do you do this shit? I can't keep up, you know. And to me, I'm just like, look, I'm a paperback graphic novel. Put everything into one easy to read book for me, and I'll do it. The single issue shit, unless it's numbered and it's easy to follow, I
Right.
don't fucking care. Just give me the plot synopsis, and I will live another day.
Right. And that's one other thing about like oh, what do you call these things? Um certain animation studios from like comic book movies and stuff were like, hey, we're gonna do this series of comics and we're gonna turn them into movies, and it becomes a bit more digestible and it becomes easier to understand the difference between this movie and that movie. One, because the art styles are different, the voicing is different, all that stuff, and people have a much more grounded, much more relatable idea of like, hey, this is different to that. So I will say though, as great as comics are, they're just not hitting it the same way as at least in the States as they used to. But it is what it is. All I know is that
Well, do you read comics, Marcos? Like, do you ever read like?
I used to.
You used to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. To me, I look at comic books and manga even to it. It's just a collection of stories. That's
Right.
what they always have been. So to me, the story could be good. It's just that the method is probably different for some people. Like I think The Killing Joke is great, but I've always watched the movie of it, and then later I read the comic. Well, no, I read the comic first, then I watched the movie. But if, by the way, word advice: if you're ever gonna watch the animated Killing Joke, maybe skip the first half. It is so fucking awful. It is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't. I can't. I'm sorry. It's that first half of Barbara Gordon was so cringe and fan fiction heavy. It was just yikes. Just yikes. That's all I'm saying. Um, but yeah, I get where you're coming from. A good example might be like with David Productions taking over JoJo, because like before, if you wanted to watch anime JoJo, you had only the OVA to go off on, which in my opinion animated great, but you're also animating a part of a long series of manga that only in the third part.
Right.
And then you're going to kind of confuse a lot of people. So when David Productions, well, originally the OVA studio was going to be like, hey, since this part 3 became such a hit, let's do part 1
Huge
Phantom
hit.
Blood. And
Yeah.
no, it didn't do well. Not the first, not Phantom Blood. Phantom Blood was so bad.
No,
that
part 3. Part 3.
Oh yeah, part 3. Yeah. So eventually, that kind of killed off the interest of making an anime of JoJo until David Production comes in and says, "Hey, what if we do it, but also consistently and good?"
Right. With a good budget too.
Exactly. So I see. I see. See, that's just with me with comic books, and it's such a funny thing too, because it's like with movies too. I'm interested in comic books and Marvel and superheroes and all that shit, but it's almost like pulling teeth for me to get around to watching like certain like superhero movies. Like I'm not really into superhero movies, believe it or not. Ironically, I usually complain like why I can't get into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now with Disney Plus, it's way easier because you could just pull up the movies whenever you want. But when
Right.
these movies were coming out like every other month, like it was like, hey man, I don't even care about Ant-Man. Like, do I have to watch Ant-Man to understand what the fuck is gonna happen in the movie with Captain Marvel? Do I need to know that shit?
A
But people
little
tell me
bit.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, dude, I don't really care about Ant-Man. Ant-Man doesn't really appeal to me. But it's like, oh, no, but dude, you got to watch it because it's going to be connected later. And I'm just like, what if I don't give a shit?
Yeah, I mean, you'll still ask questions, but you'll still get the grand scheme of it just watching the actual movie, you know?
I guess like a good analogy was like when I first saw the Avengers, I didn't get the hype of it because I was like, okay, it's the Avengers fighting against Loki. That's it. I didn't get it. And people were like, no, dude, you got to understand that like it was a build up to that moment, And I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah, a
guess
bit of a
so.
build-up, yeah. That's why
Well, a bit.
that's why the Infinity War was just a big thing, because of that build-up. That exact same build-up.
Exactly.
But it's still
I don't know. Could you theoretically enjoy Return of the Jedi if you haven't seen Revenge of the I mean not Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back?
mm,
I think so.
yeah, to a certain degree. I would
Yeah,
say so.
You just see, all right, Luke is a Jedi. He comes in, frees his buddies. All right, now we're gonna go fight the Empire. All right, cool. New Hope again.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, like at the beginning again, the prequel, the movies that came before the whatever sequel you're watching, if it's a good enough movie, you don't really need to watch the previous installation, because it explains its own story very, very well. But obviously, you're revisiting some building blocks that you might get from watching the movie, that
Mm-hmm.
that sequel. But it helps to watch it. I mean, the only thing that Ant-Man really was necessary when it comes to the Avengers was the whole what do you call this thing? The whole quantum theory, not quantum, the whole time machine thing, and something about going back in time and stuff. I don't know.
Marvel.
I haven't watched that, man.
Mumble jumbo. Yeah. Speaking about Star Wars, though, did you see the new Kenobi trailer?
Uh, no, but I know everyone's popping off about it.
I'm excited. It looks really good. I'm really excited. And I was talking about this with my stepbrother the other day about it too. It's like, dude, like the one thing I want to see in this show, and they pretty much confirm it's gonna happen. I want to see the moment Obi-Wan finds out that Anakin survived.
Yes,
That's what I want to know.
Okay.
Like that would like that is like the moment I've been picturing. It's like how would Obi-Wan find out that not only Anakin survived, but he also was Darth Vader, and he's still alive, and he's still keeping the Empire. And to me, that's because I read about this. Like, hey, when did Obi-Wan find out that Anakin was Darth Vader? And yeah, technically speaking, they called him Darth Vader in Episode 3, but that was more like a title,
Right.
not like his actual name, right? And I thought, can you imagine like the feelings of emotion he would have? Like at first, he'll be happy because his friend and basically his brother survived, but then also the shock and realizing like, oh my God, I left him literally burning into a crisp.
Basically,
in Mustafar.
Yeah.
Like, holy fuck, how can he live? And then, oh my God, not only that though, but he's also the fucking Empire. Holy shit, dude.
I think that's the most messed up thing, because he was there. Kenobi was there for Anakin's basically his whole life, right? And the final words he said to him is like, "I loved you as a brother," or whatever, right? And he just leaves him there. Sure, the rest of the galaxy is in chaos, basically, but what could you have done? Bit your robes off? Just like what's the harm of just carrying him to your ship and just being with him? Again, this is the narrative thing to like. This is the whole Star Wars theory things that I love. Like, first of all, I love that channel, Star Wars Theory.
Oh yeah, I saw the one about like what if Order 66 failed.
Yeah, like that, like I love it when he reached like stuff like that. Like I love the whole Star Wars theory things, because like so many things could have gone so right if just a couple things weren't a factor. But that being said,
like gave Anakin fucking counseling.
right, or Anakin goes, "Hey, it was just revealed to me that there's a Sith."
Palpatine's actually a bad guy.
Actually, even before that, right before Anakin beheads Count Dooku, Dooku just says, "Hey, he's a Sith Lord," and everyone's like, "Wait, what?" Yeah, he's a Sith Lord, and then Palpatine's like, "No, don't listen to him. He's
apparently in the novelization he does like
think about it,
because yeah, like apparently Dooku knew that like, okay, I'm gonna play fight with Anakin a little bit because he's probably still a pussy bitch from Episode 2,
right.
So I'll beat him, and then Palpatine will come and be like, yo bro, hey, want to join the cool club with these old farts?
Yeah.
But then later in when he gets beaten, he's like kind of shocked. They're like, all right Palpatine, this is the part where you say, hey, stop. And he's just like, no, you know what, fuck it, this old guy, I want to upgrade to the new Skywalker model.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of these theories are like, just like, it could have just been easily fixed if you just would have said this or that, and that wasn't the case. So that's why I like a lot of Star Wars theories, especially that go deep into it, like something as simple as Obi-Wan, who claimed he loved his Anakin, his Padawan, right? He goes, "Hey, I'm taking you back with me," and all that stuff. But like, I think Hayden Christensen's coming back for this for Star Wars, right? For the Kenobi thing, right?
I'm not. I think so. I've read about it, but that's like, fuck it. I'll just Google it.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Christian Kenobi.
Yeah, he's back. He's back.
back.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
He is obviously playing Anakin in this thing and flashbacks.
He's gonna play as Greedo.
But I wonder what they're gonna who's gonna be Darth Vader then?
Probably Anakin.
No, I don't think Hayden is gonna be Darth Vader. There's no way. You think so? Like,
what do you mean?
Like, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it could be anybody under the mask.
That's what I'm saying. Like how in the past, the person inside the Darth Vader suit was the what was his name? Was it Spencer? I can't remember. Some white
Like,
tall
you're
white
talking about
dude.
like the original Darth Vader
No,
from
no,
like
no. I know Hayden Christensen's gonna be there for like maybe flashbacks, for Kenobi, right? Where
putting on the suit at the first time, probably.
probably right. What I'm saying is, the person who's under the mask, who is the person who represents the tall Darth Vader, right? If they do show Darth Vader,
Mhm.
right? Because Darth Vader's a tall dude, right? He's
Yes.
a NBA star at
He's
this
an
point.
he's an impending fucking person. Like, I know a lot of people don't like. I get that, like, it's a lot of fan fiction, not fan fiction. It's unfair, but like legends and like supplementary material. And I know that, like, if you go back to watch like episode 4, 5, and 6, you may think, well, he doesn't look like he fights that good. But when you put into context of, like, Fallen Order, fucking Force Awakens, and all the other shit that you could do with comic books and stuff, and you're not limited as a fucking actor,
Right.
yeah, you can make Darth Vader as like this impending, terrifying person.
Right. That's why I'm saying, like, what was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? I mean, I'm not sure how tall Hayden Christensen is, but Darth Vader, his canon height is like 6'6", and
Yeah, but of course you could just put some boots under.
right. Yeah, I'm just making sure it is like if it is gonna be
Did
him.
you ever?
What?
Did you ever see what Darth Vader sounded like before? Fuck, what was his name? The guy who did the voice of Darth Vader,
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones. Did you ever hear like how Darth Vader sounded?
Think
in New
so
Hope?
in high school, and I can't remember now.
It was remember, this was before, like, they tell him, like, all right, hey dude, say these lines, act it out, say like you're moving around and saying the line, all right?
Right.
And they hired like this really tall Scottish dude to do it, and it just sounded so childish. It's just like, you are part of the Rebel Alliance and you are a traitor. And it's just like, I want the ship tear part to part, and everyone's just like, we can't take this guy seriously. This is a joke. And then Lucas was like, no, I got it, dude. We're gonna, don't worry, trust me. We're gonna dub this shit over. It's gonna be fucking amazing. But he got so mad that they replaced him that he was banned from every Star Wars convention.
Okay.
Yeah, George Lucas was an asshole. He like, well, let me look him up. The original. God, but it was so funny, like, watching that documentary. People were like, this guy, we can't take him seriously. What the fuck?
That's funny.
Darth Vader actor. Here we go. What was his name? No, not Anakin Skywalker. Thank you, Google. I think it was David Prowse. I think he was... No, I think it was for Return of the Jedi. Let me see here. Star Wars. Yeah, he was only in the first one. Yeah. Yep, he was only in the first New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he never... No, wait, no, I lied. No, he was in the sequel. Then who was the one who played as him? Not David Prowse. I want to meet, like, the original actor.
Either way,
yeah. Anyways, but yeah, it's really fascinating. I was always been curious, like, wait, so how did they dub the voice? And it's like, oh yeah, they had this one guy act out the lines, and then they did it in dub.
I think when it comes to this Kenobi thing, it's been a long time coming.
And they got my boy Ian McGregor back, so I'm already fucking hyped.
Reminds me if I'm wrong, or correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry, but like if I remember correctly, wasn't in the Mandalorian Will Smith was supposed to be in it?
Maybe. Then again, full transparency, I've only seen the first season of Mandalorian. I never got around to watching the second season, but I did enjoy the first season.
Well, let me look it up. Was Will Smith supposed to be in the Mandalorian? I'm pretty sure he was. I can't remember. Maybe I'm wrong. All I know is that I think Samuel Jackson's going to appear in The Mandalorian as Mace Windu, who survived Order 66, which I think is pretty cool.
Somehow.
Well, there's been comics about it.
But yeah,
like canon comics,
Jedis
like actual canon comics now. I'm not talking about Legends. I'm talking about, like, he gets thrown off the window, and we know Jedis to survive great falls, and obviously he got hit with Force lightning, but given his whole what do you call this? Given his style of fighting, so the Sith primarily fight in one of the 7 forms, and the 7th form, the reason why the Sith use it is because it is an aggressive, very, very bloodthirsty, power hungry form that feeds into your rage, that feeds into everything. And the only person who was allowed to use that form in a Jedi world was Mace Windu, because he used it in his own way. He put a little remix to it, which is basically the stronger the dark side of the force is on the opponent, the stronger his combat becomes, and without it corrupting him. And that's how he was able to get through it. And that's why canonically, that's why he has a purple lightsaber in the story. Obviously, we know that Samuel Jackson asked for a purple lightsaber to George Lucas, and George Lucas was like, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, sure, why not? Fuck it.
Yeah, and they basically shoehorned the reason why, and there you go. It was a mix of the red and blue Kyber crystal thing stuff, whatever. But yeah, it's fun. But all I know is the Star Wars is great, and up till Episode 6. I don't want to call the sequels. I don't consider the sequels canon.
Man, to me, when I think about the sequels, I just look at it as like, why would I want to subject myself to this movie? That's oh man, that sucks. It really
I haven't watched it.
It's bad. It's bad. I still think Episode 8 is still the peak worst. I've never seen a movie that pissed me off and aggravated me and bored me at the same time. Episode 8 was just like I remember too. I was telling my stepbrother, hey, I'm gonna watch all the movies back to back. I was like, all right, man. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, 8's gonna really suck. And he's like, it can't be that bad. And I was like, yeah, no, it was really bad.
Horrible.
I don't even want to go back to it. I just can't. I can't visually see myself going back to that.
Just
movie.
To remind everyone, from Episode 7 to Episode 8, barely a week passed. Like, it's literally like 4 or 5 days has passed.
Yep.
And
it ends with Luke getting the lightsaber, and then it starts with Luke throwing the lightsaber away.
Yeah, but it also becomes Rey able to fight someone who had decades of experience, and yeah, it's.
Yep, that was a catastrophe.
Yeah.
Oh well, but yeah, I think we should wrap it up. It's been a good episode. Thank you everybody for watching and listening to the DKM podcast. As you know, sorry about that. You can watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor. If you haven't yet, feel free to join our Discord server. We'd love to have you in our little community. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a good one. Take care. Stay safe. Until next time. See ya.